NFL ratings continue to rise this season compared to various narratives last year that the ratings were down due to both political stances and those who were turned off by injuries, specifically concussions. Now, in 1994, then Chicago Bears running back MERRIL HOGE suffered a concussion. He resumed playing just 5 days later and suffered another concussion a few weeks after that, leading to his eventual retirement. So we'll delve into all the details about that more with my guest, MERRIL HOGE himself, who has a book coming out. Actually, it just came out this past week, Brainwashed, the bad science behind CTE and the plot to destroy football. Where did this idea come from for you?
Well, I'll tell you this, it probably stemmed from being a dad, more than a player and a coach of the game, quite honestly. And there's two different things there. There's protocol, and then there's the science. What happened to me was bad protocol. I wasn't cared for properly. And I actually went to Congress. I mean, I sued the doctor and won that case and changed, how we do protocols. This book, though, is about the science. And you got to get to the white elephant right away. People always go, well, CTE, what is CTE? I had the same question. I'm a parent, I've seen the headlines, so I went across this country, even up into Canada. I met with the greatest neuropathologists in the world, and I would ask them, I go, tell me what CTE is. And here's how they explained it to me. It's a pattern. We're in an observation state, but we don't know what causes it, and we don't know what the symptoms are from it. There's cases of people who have the pattern of CTE who have played sports, and cases where they didn't play sports. And I was like, well, we only hear of the cases in sports and specifically football. And then I found about the patterns or the cases outside the football, and that is when I was like, okay, I got to dig deeper and I've got to find out. And the more I found out, the more I realized it is so confusing and complicated. That's why I wrote the book, so we could explain the science and the real truth of what CTE is at this point.
All right, so you wrote this book with neuropathologist Dr. Peter Cummings.
Right.
What has he discovered, and what do we learn in the book from his discovery?
What I did is I actually read the science papers. Then I had him explain it to me, and here's what was alarming. The people who wrote the paper, science papers, are the exact same people being quoted in the news media. But they would contradict what they said in the science. Like there would be, in some science papers, or a lot of them, there says, caution, you can't use this to change policies, for example, for like age of exposure, right? And they're in there using that science paper to try to change policies when the science paper they wrote said you can't use that. So that is why I used him, many other doctors, so they explain actually the steps of science, what needs to be completed before it can become scientific. And there's so many steps
missed. So this is about the diagnosis.
Missed.
Because it can't be diagnosed in a living person.
Well, you're exactly right. But it's about the information we're seeing in the media versus what the science is really saying. And if you read the science paper and have it explained to you, you'll go to the headlines and you're like, well, how did they come up with that headline?
Right.
Because that headline, like you'll see a headline that says linked. There's no scientific paper that has any scientific wording of linked. I even have a website for people that'll help them. They can go read the science papers. We encourage you to do that. Really, the more you read about it and understand it, the more empowered you will be. But it's brainwashedbook.com.
It's obviously a controversial topic because there's so many football players that have passed away and they've donated their brains and they have found CTE in their brains. And the NFL also did a study of, I guess it was 111 brains, out of 111 brains.
110 out of 111.
Showed CTE.
That comes back all the time.
I have a quote here. Did some Googling, and this comes from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. CTE is believed to be caused in part by exposure to repetitive head impacts, including concussions. So why isn't that enough to know that concussions, and football has the most concussions because of the violence?
Words are very important, and you just said believed to be, believed to be. Believed to be. Okay, there is no confirmation whatsoever. Believed to be. Now, why that's important? Let's go back to that paper you just talked about, the 110 out of 111. I brought that up to all the great minds I talked to, the experts in the world. I'll make this quick. The neuropathology world. And I'm like, okay. I kept going back to that paper, and they looked at me and they said, listen, Alzheimer's we've been working on for decades. Hundreds of doctors have been working on it. Hundreds of papers have been on it. Thousands of brains have been done it. We still don't know what causes it. You're going to tell me that one study and one paper has figured it out? And I was like, again, why I wrote the book, because then when you see that paper and the science behind it and the truth of it, you put some clarity there that you don't get in the media.
So the details and all the science is in the book, so that's why people have to buy the book. But who do you think overall is setting up this plot to ruin football?
If you go look at 5 states right now where Faces of CT is trying to shut down football. You know, they're trying to close down tackle football.
And they're using that as
and they're
the
using
concussions.
Right, they're using this science that is unscientific right now, that is nothing confirmation, to try to shut down football. I've talked with USA Football, Pop Warner, even the group in California. We're trying to really get together and make sure that everybody who's coaching and playing youth football, right protocols, right equipment, and right instructions, so make it better and safer. Yeah, so
to help from
we are doing things to make the game better and safer, and parents get involved. Go look at what they're doing. Ask your youth program what they're doing. Feel good about understanding. Do you have a protocol? How do you fit equipment? How do you practice? And then
allow their child to play. Because that's where, like you said, it stems from the children being a parent. A lot of these kids are being held back from playing because of the information.
I always tell a parent, if they're passionate to play, you know, feed that passion.
All right, Merrill, very interesting, controversial, but so informative and interesting.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for talking about the topic.
My pleasure.
Good to talk to you again. MERRIL HOGE, everyone. Very interesting book, brainwashed.com, right? Brainwashed?
Yes. Brainwashedbook.com, but the book is called Brainwashed.
Okay, thank you so much, Merrill. We'll be right back on Sports Extra.